when we initially met, it was on Special Forces. Have you went through PTSD?
I have. I think I'm still going through it. Well, I'll just say that getting a chance to work with you, be next to you during that experience was one of the highlights of it all. I think, people have their opinions about everybody, right? But watching you compete, seeing you really grow up, right? Because I kind of see myself as a big sister of sorts when it comes to like my little brothers and sisters in the sporting world. So seeing you grow up, I went to Carolina, so I spent a lot of years living there and watching you, but and as many great things as you've done on that part, just getting a chance to be next to you and see like a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
Right. And your hugs just made it all so worth it.
For everybody who didn't know, like the behind the scenes footage, not really footage, but the behind the scenes experience of who Marion really is. I remember, like, first off, we met, when everybody started to understand who's a part of the show, it was on the boat. And I'm like looking around, I'm not a morning person, so I'm like looking around, oh, I know her, oh, I know him, oh, that's the movie. And then you walk, I'm like, yo, we lit in here, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey. But I didn't show it because I was still in, it was like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And then as the show kept going, you took on this big sister motherly role. And we could say it now, it was a time where I was extremely hungry. I was like, damn, I'm hungry. I made it abundantly clear, like, yo, I'm hungry. And just like the big sister, she just walks past, don't even look at me, stick her wrist out, and there's a boiled egg. I said, damn, she over here got some contraband in. And she looked back and said, shh. And we had that moment. And I was early too, so I was like, oh shit, this is my type of person.
Yeah.
Because for you, you were uptight, and everybody was. It wasn't that, I was any different than you or you were any different than anybody else. Everybody was just kind of trying to fill each other out. And I felt like that notion right there was like, I got you, and we got each other.
And it's always subtle, but same thing, when we first got on the boat, all the faces.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to really feel each other out. And I like to joke, I was deciding in that initial moment whom I didn't want to have to sleep next to.
Like you had a choice. Yeah.
And the person whom I didn't want to sleep next to, I wound up initially sleeping next to. He left very early. But seeing you in that, you just are not really fazed.
Yeah.
And we're similar in that, so that they can poke and prod and curse and say whatever to you, and that's what pisses people off. Not even just on the show,
for sure,
but in life too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
That what you say, how you say it. Like I've heard a lot worse.
Yeah. So that was the thing for me where.
I had forgot all about the boiled egg. By the way, I had taken a few that morning. When they were giving us that slop. And I had taken it just because I know that my blood sugar will spike or whatnot, and I had put 3 or 4 in that rucksack.
You tucked it mean too, because I wasn't even thinking. I was just, in that phase of what your body is going through, you can enter a phase of survival.
Yeah.
And my biggest question doing Special Forces was, how real is it? And how real will it be? And initially, the first instance was the pushing into the ocean.
The water.
In the water.
The temperature of the water. I think that was also my anxiousness in all of it. Well, the unknown. But how my body, I don't handle cold very well at all. So you put that with the idea of water.
Right.
You put that with the idea of some type of stress, lack of food, you don't know what to expect.
Right. So survival definitely, and as the days kept going on and on, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, what in the world have I got myself into? And what people don't know, I went into it knowing that I was going to give up at day 6. Day 6 was my breaking
Really?
point. Yeah, for sure. Like after day 6, I was looking at my clock, and that was the thing for me. They gave us all watches, and that kept me
That you lost, by the way,
stimulated,
after day 1.
which is cool.
Okay.
It was somewhere in the ocean, or it was somewhere in the pool, or whatever.
It wasn't in the ocean because you hadn't gotten the watch by then.
Yeah, I don't
why
know
day 6?
when it was.
Why day 6?
Because I had an event to go to. So what kept me was the relationships with you, Kyla, and Kayla, and just, seeing Golden and just having these real relationships. And as you started to learn more about Carrie, and you started to learn more about, Brody, and it's like, yo, I can't quit.
Yeah.
I can't give the DS the satisfaction to say, give me your armband. And that's the competitiveness in me, where a lot of times I was just in this mode of rebelliousness. Like that was the gift and the curse of me my whole life. And there was times where I was looking at a person in front of me, which was the drill sergeant, and I felt like they was trying to punk me. So when you were saying like, I've seen worse, I've heard worse, and that competitive tone, it didn't make me shrink, it made me grow.
Bigger.
You feel me? So all athletes can relate to that, because we've all had coaches, we've all had parents, we've all had, individuals to know our trigger tone to get us going.
And I think that was our advantage on the show, the athletes. Not only physically, we can pretty much withstand, minus some broken ribs. We can withstand whatever they put us through. But the idea that we've been yelled at before, right? Like nobody's yelled at Denise.
We ain't gonna cry.
Nobody's yelling at Trista, any of that. But we've been yelled at, we've been scolded, we've been cursed at, all those type of things. Like
all tactics to get you to respond.
Yeah, and I think you had talked about in my role, just generally who I am. Anyway, Cam is just very nurturing, and I could sense what they are trying to get out of you from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right?
Can we talk about that?
Yes. I'll tell you from the beginning, when they put those bags over our head, right? And we're down on the ground, which is a bit triggering.
Yeah.
I think generally for people of color, right? To be on the ground with our head covered, that's a whole other show.
Right.
But
and water.
And yes. But hearing, having the sense of sight taken away, and just hearing how they're talking to people, and knowing, without you even saying I'm Cam Newton, knowing that they were talking to you, because you were right before me, by the way, right? And not knowing what's going on. But from that moment, I thought to myself, what? Even how they talk to you initially, compared to how they talk to everybody else, you can tell there was already some type of agenda. Like they wanted to get something a little bit more out of you. I'm a poke. I'm a prod him because at some point he's gonna get him to quit.
What's his breaking point?
Right.
And I thought I was tripping early on, and we'll talk about things coming down to the edit. But for me, when I was watching the premiere, and I was watching it amongst friends and family, and I was saying to them, it's like, my biggest fear is I don't know how they're going to edit it. Because you could be made out to be a villain, or you could be made out to be this superstar. And for me, I was just being myself. So as things are happening, I said, from day one, I felt like they had this motive to try to make me quit. And even when it came down to the helicopter, so I'm seeing different lengths of jumps of the helicopter. So I'm like, okay, cool, this not bad. And from the competitor side, I'm saying, even reading a contract before even going to London, I was like, who's all gonna be there? Is it athletes only? or whatever. She was like, yo, you can do your own research. There's a mix of athletes, entertainers, and movie stars or whatever. So I'm like, movie stars? All right, cool. Well, I don't have to get in tip-top shape knowing that if they can do it, I know I can do it.
Yeah.
But that first one, when we went to the helicopter, that's when I knew. Even coming off the boat, me and Golden was asked to do like burpees. Uh-huh. And I'm like, okay, how long is enough?
Yeah.
Then it was like, all right, do push-ups. 16, do more. I'm like, okay, y'all fucking with me. Then the helicopter, when I was seeing certain lengths of the helicopter, I seen people jump, and I'm saying, all right, cool. So now I go, and I'm looking, and there's a moment in the edit that people saw where I had hesitation. Because my hesitation was like, yo, y'all gonna come a little closer? Because I seen 8 people go before me, and I know that they didn't jump this far.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, bring that motherfucker in closer. She's like, no, go. And I'm looking at the dude, I'm like, man, hey, bring it in close. Say, no, go. And I seen a dude in the DS in the helicopter like, come on, go. And that's where the rebelliousness of me was like, fuck it. Mm-hmm. And I just went.
But Cam, to me, it wasn't even so much about getting you to quit. That's not how I interpreted it. I interpreted it from the beginning. I'm going to push and prod and say stuff to him to get him to be aggressive, to get him to be explosive for a lot of reasons. One is good TV, right? But 2, right? Like that's what people want to see. That's what they expect.
Right.
And the surprise to them, not to me, but the surprise to them was that it didn't faze you. I mean, it didn't faze you outwardly.
Right.
It might have done some pushing, some maybe a little triggering, but from the outside. And so when I saw, even from the beginning, after we swam, and they were yelling at me, by the way, so I told you that you were pushed in before me.
Right.
I was right after you. And we're swimming, and one of the DS is in the boat, Q or somebody, and he's yelling at you, like, you better move your fat ass.
Get your
And
fat
I'm
ass going.
thinking, I saw everybody on the boat. Ain't nobody like
fat. Yeah.
And so I look, and then I see you.
Yeah.
And I see you struggling with all them damn clothes on your body, with your shoes, with your. By that point, I think the hat had.
They slapped the hat off.
And then they yell at me. They said, he said, you're the damn Olympian. You better catch his ass. That's what they said. And I'm thinking, okay, Marion, you could do the most right now and go and catch up to him and die out here, or I could just swim, pace, and I pace. But then even when we got up there, Cam, there was extra for you. It was always extra for you.
Bruh. So I'm like, first off, my spidey senses was going. Because when we first got on the boat, I'm looking at everybody's attire. And maybe
Did you not get the memo?
I didn't know. Only thing I heard was don't wear no jewelry or nothing valuable. And I'm like, well, for me, I dress up every day. So I got a outfit, got clothes for every single day. I know how I'm gonna put it together or whatever. And I see how I'm dressed and I see how everybody else dressed. I'm like, that's kind of normal for me. Like, people will go to the grocery store and I'm still dressed how I'm dressed.
I just interpret it as a bit like rebellious, rebelliousness a little bit. Like, you can do your thing. I got the memo, like, it should be comfortable, right? Something that you don't mind losing or getting messed up.
Never had that memo. That was probably very dark or small.
For you.
Man, because even I was working against myself because I had a jacket, a bubble coat, and it was counterproductive. So I'm trying to swim, and it's a flotation device.
What type of shoes? We had some fancy shoes on.
It was just something comfortable. But my pants, this is the kicker. Because when they told us all to like, all right, undress and put your outfit on, all my stuff had zippers on it. So I had to unzip my pants because they was tight to my ankle. Then I had this on. I said, hold on. I'm taking a little too long. My shoes super tight. I'm like, hold on, panicking. And I'm seeing everybody else get dressed. And I'm over here like the last one. I'm like, man, they already don't like me. I'm like, So it's a lot of panic going on right now. And then, when you panic.
And you're cold.
Cold.
And wet. And walking up those, when you got out of the water, and we're already numb, and we're slipping.
The seaweed, it
rocks.
It was bad. But as the show kind of unfolded, like I said, my biggest fear was how are they going to edit it?
Yeah.
And as I was watching the show, and everybody have been asking, how was your experience? Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is that show took 10 days, but with that show, there's lifelong bonds that came from it. And you know Marion Jones, but you don't really know Marion Jones until you really see the show from the editorials,
From the stuff that they didn't put in.
Correct. And not only what you see in off time or when you in the dining hall or whatever you want to call that, and then to see your story kind of unfold, you see like, oh my God, what the world may have knew you to be, I didn't go into it like that because I don't care what somebody's reputation may be. I go in it with a obliviousness to like, who are you? You gave me this sense of calm, and there was a very impactful moment during the show when you got called in, didn't know what y'all talked about, and I just asked, I'm like, are you okay? And there was a moment where we had this hug.
It was everything.
Like, yeah.
People have asked, and I've shared it before. It was everything. Because as you can imagine, Cam, I've been asked, well, you could have, predicted maybe a little bit what some of the conversation in that mirror room was and they ask questions to trigger, and they want the tears. I get all that. But then to have to leave there and step back in a space that is cold, strangers, when normally if there's an interview setting or something, I can go back into a space that's comfortable that I can, and then to walk into that whatever warming room they called it, which is a joke, we can get into that, and have you be the person in there, miraculously in there, and it's again one of the reasons that I respect, because that like your hug was everything. We all were going through a time of uncertainty. Yeah. And everybody was walking on eggs because you didn't know when the next call was going to be. You didn't know what they were going to have us do. All we knew was that we got to keep our mics on, and everything is being recorded, from the shitters to is that what you're calling
it? The shitters, the wooden shitters. And that was a joke. But it was like a cutout hole where you just had to plop down. And the respect for the woman, I think it was Carrie or Brody that was like, yo, we're going to designate 2 for the women and 2 for the guys. And I was like, well, we out here anyway.
And then the toilet paper was missing sometimes. It was just bad.
It's just
nasty.
There.
Just nasty.
Like for the people who didn't, witness or understand what we're talking about, that was a story in its own right, because they really tear down all privacy.
Dignity.
You're just there. And heaven forbid any type of creep activity. And we had a good group where it was a lot of respect. It was understanding like, yo, we're going to have to change in front of each other. And you just have to make sure that you don't want to make somebody else uncomfortable. Yeah. And the most vulnerable moment was like you're using the restroom and like you looking to your side, it's like, hey, how are you? Hey, what's going on?
And you saying you looking to your side. Besides Nathan, you ain't looking to your side. Besides Nathan, you are there. Yeah, you looking there. Down.
So you try to keep this straight on look, not trying to make it creepy because somebody else is using the restroom.
And then day one, I hear you and Golden chit-chattering and talking about sounds that are coming from certain stalls.
Yeah. It was that. What was some of the food that we ate? We had eggs. The eggs and the toast was
nasty
every day. No type of flavor.
Well, also, I'm plant-based. You're plant-based. Yes. So do you remember the tofu that they?
Yeah.
Which I didn't even try.
It was at that point, I just was eating just to survive.
Yeah.
I was eating just to make sure, like, man, I don't know what we're gonna have to do, but I just want to make sure I'm giving my body the nutrients, because one of the early days, they was giving us snacks in the
Day one in the Jeep
in the Jeeps.
until somebody commented, "Oh, this is nice," and ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
But
I
you
was
know,
stashing.
again, that is to the athlete's advantage because we know that we have to fuel our bodies. Kyla, who is gluten-free, plant-based, food, she didn't eat anything.
A lot of allergies.
Couldn't eat anything.
Right.
But there are certain things that you understand, Cam, why they did it. If we get down to like the base of it all, right? They're trying to mimic what it's like when you're training. But the idea that they're going to carry that along with 16 people who have zero background in military. We don't know what to expect. Some of us are physically incapable of doing some of the stuff. Is a bit mind-blowing.
And mentally incapable.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you see certain people, you know it was like...
Good for TV.
Yes.
The reason that they're there was because it was good for TV. Yeah.
A lot of times, certain things... First and foremost, heights for me. It's not that I'm afraid. It's that in recreational activity, I would never bungee jump because outside of fear, there's a weight and height requirement that I never. It's
Would
always
pass.
yeah.
Never
It's like yo, this is for the 6'2" and under. Like, oh, that ain't for me. This is for 215 or under. I'm like, oh, that ain't me. I can't do that. So when I started looking at them heights, I said, oh, whoa. So is this safe for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 260.
And the biggest, tallest and biggest of, if you had did you get a chance to see the other two seasons prior to going on?
I wouldn't.
Right? You would have then also said, no, I'm the biggest and the tallest out of all of the competitors.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been the decision not to get on the show.
So I was like, oh, I don't know about this.